I think I have a drinking problem. I was suffering terribly from postpartum depression. My dad suddenly passed away from a heart attack. It was a few weeks after that my marriage ended.
Wow.
And I was a mess. I was drinking a lot. It was medicine, you know.
How do you not give up? How do you keep moving forward and through those difficult times?
Anne Marie Chaker is a veteran journalist and professional bodybuilder. She is the author of How Women Can Reclaim Their Physical Power and Transform Their Lives. She's proof that true strength is both written and lived.
Can you talk a little more about how weightlifting specifically really helped you on your journey?
The switch went from 0 to 11. Everything is better. I stopped wanting to be less and started wanting to be more. Strength training, eating well, those are the things that will power us. It is not to be feared.
As I think about you as a bodybuilder, and you're cutting a lot of calories to get to this perfect physique, how do you grapple with that inside when your message is, we're not trying to make ourselves smaller, we're not trying to make ourselves perfect?
That's such a great question. I would say,
welcome to the Art of Living Well podcast, where we empower you to take charge of your health and happiness. We're Marnie
and Stephanie,
board-certified integrative health practitioners, holistic wellness coaches, and passionate explorers of all things mind, body, and soul.
Each week, we bring you expert insights, real-life stories, and practical tools to help you bridge the gap between where you are now and where you truly want to be. From longevity and nutrition to mindset, movement, and healing, we dive deep to uncover the root causes of wellness and vitality.
Join us and our growing community as we explore what it really means to create your art of living well in a way that's authentic, sustainable, and uniquely yours. Hi, Anne Marie. We are so excited to have you here today. We have both loved reading Lift, and we can't wait to dive into the themes around women and strength training. And we're both lifters ourselves, and I personally love to strength train. And I love how strength training makes me feel. So just super excited to have you here and have this conversation.
Oh, Marnie and Stephanie, I'm so excited to be here with you. This is going to be great.
So, before we jump into the interview, I would love to know from you if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice 5 years ago, what would it be?
I would say don't give up. You know, it's gonna be okay. There was 5 years ago, my life was in a pretty bad way. The shit had hit the skids, as it does for many of us midlife ladies who have lived a life. I had recently given birth to a beautiful baby, but was suffering terribly from postpartum depression. And, my folks lived a couple doors down from me. And my dad just suddenly passed away from a heart attack 2 weeks after she was born. And I was really close to my dad. We had literally just gotten off the phone. He was going to go to the grocery store. He was going to pick me up a bok choy. He just needed to walk the dog. And it was on that dog walk that he just had a random heart attack. And I was nursing the baby, and it was awful. And then it was a few weeks after that my marriage ended. I mean, it was just boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
Every terrible, awful thing that could happen in my life, every truth had been upended. So my husband moved out, and I was a mess. I was a total mess. I was never had been much of a drinker, but I literally could not sleep. I had counted 11 days or something where I literally couldn't sleep. A sign of depression, I know now. But I started just having a half a glass of wine. A neighbor had come over. We were sitting cross-legged on the couch, and she was like, "You just have a little glass of wine. It'll help you sleep." So that's where it started. That little glass of wine before bed started becoming 2 glasses, and then half a bottle. And then it was just it went from there. And I became very quickly addicted to the stuff and craving it. And I was drinking a lot. It was medicine. And so all of this came to a head when I was taking my daughter on a trip. I had my daughter and the baby, and my mom was with us, and we were going to Ocean City, Maryland for a hockey tournament. I was coaching their team at the time. And this whole car ride on the way to Ocean City, which was 2.5, 3 hour car ride, I'm thinking about when I'm going to get my next drink. And my mom is sitting next to me. I'm thinking how am I going to get around my mom? It's I knew I had a problem. So we get there and I drop off the bags, and there's this like fitness room down from where the room where we were staying. And I poked my head in the fitness room. And in this fitness room was a hockey mom, the mom of one of the kids on my team, who looked amazing. She was like killing this workout. She was doing dumbbells. She had brought bands with her. She was pulling bands, lifting a barbell. And it was just like the way she approached like this, whatever workout she was doing, like she totally knew what she was doing. She was sweating, she was muscular. It was just this combination of as if she'd done this a million times and knew what she was doing, and she had this kind of superhero physique, and I thought, "That that is what I wanna be." And I looked at her and I asked her, like, I was like, "You look amazing. I think I have a drinking problem. Like, what's your deal? What's your story? What do you do?" And she said, "Oh, I do bikini competitions," which sounded insane to me. I was like, "What? What is that, like a beauty contest? What?" And she said, "No, it's the sport of bodybuilding, and, I measure macros, and I'm a coach, and da 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 da." And I was like, "Wow." So I kind of was like, I love the name of this coach. Like, I don't want to be a bodybuilder, but I'm really like, I need help. Like, I don't exercise, I drink. Like, what? So she was like, "Yeah, I know." So anyway, I almost forgot about the whole thing. But when I got home from this thing, I checked my email, and, she'd remembered, and the coach's name was in my inbox. And so I reached out to her, and that's where the journey started. Sorry, that was a long story, but yeah.
But the point of
That
the story was don't give up. I wanna circle back to the
yeah.
question.
Totally. It was don't give up. And, I think often about that moment. Like, there are these little moments in your life, right? And they can change everything. They can completely. I never expected to meet that woman in the gym. I might have forgotten about reaching out to her for that phone number, but she didn't. She followed through with me. And, that's why sometimes, it's New Year and all these people come back to the gym, and it's like, oh, all of us old timers are like annoyed that all these new, but you know what? You never know. You never know who you're going to inspire. Us ladies have to look out for each other, I feel like.
And you were
We
just
have to be that person. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I just believe in like serendipity, and you were just at the right place at the right time when you were actually willing and ready to take that next step and to not give up. And
Yeah.
I
I
think so
guess
many
that's
people,
right.
yeah, in midlife are, and I think it's just, I don't know, some personal things that have happened to people I know, some really tragic events. And it's like, how do you not give up? Like you said, how do you keep moving forward and through those difficult times to get to the other side, which was part of your journey? You went from one of just being in survival mode to really thriving and now empowering others. Which is funny. I mean, when I read your book and the whole hockey tournament, so I'm a hockey mom and I've had 3 kids that have played hockey. And so I've been to a million of these out of town tournaments. And let me tell you, no one is working out that even looks close, close to being in bikini body shape. That's usually all about drinking and eating. So
Right.
I just had to
Right.
laugh when I was reading that actually.
That's funny. Where do you live, Stephanie?
Oh, in Minnesota. So it's real
Oh, I was
hockey
gonna say,
here.
you must live in a, yeah, hockey
Yeah.
country. That's awesome. Having a physical outlet is so important and has been such a lifesaver for me. And we forget as moms, like, it is something that you have to make time for and be committed to, but it is the thing that has helped lift me out of this time and time again. Actually, since those dark days, there have been other dark days, and I always have that anchor, that thing. The weightlifting to me has been such a salvation in not only physically but also mostly for mental health and confidence and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and maybe if you wanna just dive in, like, can you talk a little more about how weightlifting specifically really helped you on your journey and got you out of this sort of funk that you were in and took it to a place of empowerment?
The thing I love about weightlifting is it always blows my mind how often, I mean, even today I'm gonna go to the gym, and I mean, it's a beautiful day outside, and like there's a million and one things I would rather do, than like go to the gym. But I'm gonna make myself do it. And I'm gonna, I'll get there, and probably like the first thing of whatever it is, squats or whatever it is, like, oh, like, don't want to do it. And then it's like the second one, I feel better. And it's always that third set where I feel like, man, like I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, I look good. There's just this powerful, it's endorphins, it's neuroscience, but there is this powerful switch that happened. And for me, it's always that third set of whatever I'm doing. It's like the switch went from 0 to like 11. And I just feel like everything is better. I feel better. I'm in a better mood. I feel like I could talk to the person next to me. I feel like I could do 5 more things. And then I leave the gym and I come home and bang, like I am ready to attack whatever it was I was procrastinating about. Like I'm more productive. And that's actually what drew me from the get-go. When I was new to the gym, I remember feeling that so deeply. Like I was kind of struggling at work, and I started coming back to my desk, and it was just like I had this new wave of ideas. I could hear it in my voice when I was interviewing people for a story. Like I sounded more confident, I was quicker, my productivity increased, I was kicking ass at work, and like I truly believe all of that was due to finding the gym and lifting heavy things. I see that still to this day. It is a very, very powerful thing.
So, what amazes me is that so you went from, you said, not really working out a whole lot to seeing a woman in the gym who looked amazing and she kind of inspired you to going out there and, hiring her coach, right? And doing it yourself, and then you entered this world of bodybuilding. Like, so
Yeah.
we both read your book, and
Mhm.
like I mentioned earlier, Stephanie and I both lift regularly, strength train, whatever you want to call it. But I
Yeah.
am not a bodybuilder. I know nothing about the world of bodybuilding. So it was really fun to like get a little glimpse of that reading your book.
Yeah.
And really, you're the first bodybuilder I think I've ever spoken to. I think there may be
Oh,
one
I'm
other
so
person.
honored.
Maybe we've interviewed someone that was a bodybuilder at some point. I don't remember. But it sounds like it's this whole like movement of women that really empower each other, and like I got the sense that the community piece was pretty cool. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I have a great coach. Her name is Tina Peratino. She's in Bowie, Maryland. And when I started, she has other women that she works with. Some are bodybuilders, but some are just, trying to get in better shape, whatever. But a lot of us are bodybuilders. And there was like a closed Facebook group she calls us a team. I mean, it's not a team sport, but her client, like we see each other on this closed Facebook and we support each other. And, at first I thought it was really kind of a little weird when, I would see these women like post on this Facebook group, like, here, oh, look at I'm getting bigger. It was like, oh, I'm like, I'm getting bigger. Like, oh, I can see there's more,
Mhm.
there's more quad. And it was interesting that it was all like this more, like I'm getting more, like there's more muscle, I'm getting bit like, and that was very interesting to me because my whole life it had been all about becoming less, right? It was everything I was marketed to about, whether it's food or clothes, was about like the lessness.
Skinny,
And that's what I was.
small, right?
Skinny, small, cardio,
Yep.
I mean, even the messages we get from the gyms or studios about lean muscle and, so for me, that was a very enticing. And I thought this was interesting. And pretty soon my ideal shifted. I stopped wanting to be less and started wanting to be more. And muscle and the idea of growing muscle on the body became very beautiful to me. I became enamored with the idea of muscle, but I became very enamored of this idea of muscle on the body. I thought it was very beautiful. So I like to think I sort of fell in love with muscle in my 40s and my body ideal completely shifted. Actually, I remember the coach asking me, like, what is your, like, at first when I started working with her, I didn't say that I wanted to be a bodybuilder, but, I knew I wanted, improve myself and nutrition and exercise, and I didn't like the way I looked. And I remember her asking, "Well, what is it you want to look like? Like, what is your ideal?" And I didn't know how to answer that because, like, my whole life I had been pointed to the skinny ideal, but I knew that wasn't what I was supposed to say, right? So now my ideal kind of became like a muscular athletic physique, and it put me on a different path of eating. I started looking at food as a way to fuel, as a way to eat more to meet optimal goals. And I was eating better. I was into like home meal preparation and really kind of finding that I didn't know the first thing about what to eat. Like, I didn't think about it. Food to me was an afterthought. It was like whatever leftovers came off. It was just a way to satiate quickly and then move on to the next thing. But really approaching food as a way to fuel, as a way to make my body work optimally was really new. And no, working with Tina and learning about macros and stuff taught me a ton.
Yeah, and I think this is such an important topic, especially for younger generations and midlife women who are out there, and especially ones that have daughters. And just how do you think some of these cultural shifts you talk about in the book, will inspire women to really define their worth? So it's like building more muscle and then also like building more confidence, right? And kind of peeling back some of the stories and labels that we have been defining ourselves by when it comes to our worth and equating that with our size or how skinny we are and just the messages that are out there even still. I mean, we're kind of all similar age, so we grew up in that generation with the low fat and the skinny and the losing weight and the magazines and all that. But, some of that hasn't changed. Some of the messages have shifted a bit, but there's still a lot out there on social media for our younger girls.
And for us, frankly,
Well, and
right?
for yes,
Yeah.
and for us. We're not
And some would
immune to it.
argue that it's gotten even worse. In the book, I spoke to a professor at Missouri State University who researched this. I don't know if you guys remember this, but skinny hyphen muscular ideal that, she had noticed that the ideal had shifted from one of just thinness to now thinness with a layer of muscularity on tops that became, even more impossible and difficult. In one of her studies, she looked at Miss America pageant winners from, I don't know, 1980 to 2000 something and asked her pool of undergraduates at the university, like, to rate their attractiveness. And it was skinny and more muscle ideals that were, and, this is troublesome because for that level of striation on the body, we know that in order to build muscle, you need a surplus of calories. You need 300 to 500 calories extra per day to build muscle. That kind of striation, that visible muscularity only becomes possible when you start dieting, and restricting. And so, I worry that, we see these ideals on social media and people think, oh my God, that's what I got to look like. But they don't understand that it's not like even us as bodybuilders, when we're up on stage, that's not a level of leanness that is meant to be sustained. That is a heavily dieted down level of leanness that's meant for one moment in time, and then we reverse diet and we build our muscle back.
So I have a question about that. As I was reading
Yeah,
your book,
yeah.
and I know you talk about this a little bit in the end, but how do you decide? So you have your beauty ideals. You want to be strong and you want to be fit. I mean, I want to be strong and I want to be fit, right? That's what I want. And I want to be I don't need to be skinny, but I don't want to be overweight. I want to be healthy. But as I think about you as a bodybuilder and you're going up on the stage, and I know that when you go through the bodybuilding cycle, at the end, you're cutting, right? Like you're cutting a lot of calories to get to this perfect physique, or I don't know what the goal is in all honesty. But how do you grapple with that inside when your message is we're not trying to make ourselves smaller, we're not trying to make ourselves perfect, yet to win a competition, you kind of have to have this perfect physique. Am I getting this right?
You are. That is a great question. Like I said, I fell in love with muscle, and this sport is a very aesthetic. It's on a stage, and you lean out and diet hard in the weeks ahead of stage time to show muscles in all their perfect symmetry and formation. And it is a moment in time. It is a crazy, I would even call it extreme sport that I don't think everyone should do. And you have to be ready to lose that and build back in the off season. And I think bodybuilders, if we're good, we understand that bodies are malleable. They're not meant for just, one form isn't, I'm not going to look like this in a few because, that's not how it works. You got to love your body if it's, 20 pounds, 15, 20 pounds up from stage lean as much as, the stage lean version of it. I'll tell you, like, a body can look super lean and cut on stage, but look not good on the street. Like, it's a really specific body type that can look sickly, I would say, on the street. But, that's the craziness of the sport. The vast 99% of the time, I would say, I look like a CrossFitter. I look like a fairly, I don't know. I would say, yeah, like people can tell I'm athletic. They'll think, they'll ask me like, what do I do? And I'll say, oh, I do bodybuilding because they can see it in my arms. My arms are
Let's
pretty
see your
jacked.
arms because we're on YouTube and we can't really
Yeah.
see your arms.
Yeah.
Well, Stephanie, you kind of have
Nice.
arms like that.
No, I'm not they're changing a little bit here, so yeah. No, I mean, I think
And I
that
will say there was a time where I was insecure about like the size of my arms. I would,
You look great, by the way.
no, thanks. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of my arms now. But yeah, I'll be competing. They're starting to, when I'm relaxed, you can start to see that. But, that definition comes with a very low level of body fat that I want women to understand that what you see on a magazine cover, for instance, like even fitness magazine cover, like the one with those abs or those models diet hard to get
Right.
there. They're not living their life in that with that level of being cut.
Well, and it
yeah, and I
makes
mean,
me
For the camera.
I know a few people that have done competitions, and it's a struggle for them after, and they've had big challenges with getting back to the right weight without going too far and extreme, and then not being able to get to sort of their normal, good, healthy body
Yeah.
weight and muscle. So this is
Well,
like
because the public will tell you, like, "Oh my god, like, you have a six pack. Oh my god," like, and, you get kind of like, "Hey,"
yeah,
and then
right.
once, that six pack is gone, like,
yeah,
Well, so
and you've gotta be okay with that.
I think that would be really hard emotionally. Like
that's what I was
it takes us, I think, a
It's
strong
not for
certain kind of
everyone.
person to do that. Like for
Yeah.
me, like when I'm at the place I like to be, feeling strong and fit and healthy, I feel really good. But I will say if I go up a little bit and I'm feeling a little squishier, I don't feel as good inside, and that just brings me to the point that you were making in your book about how you talked about a lot of research on how women as we age can benefit from lifting, and it doesn't mean you have to be a bodybuilder, right? It's just strength training and how it can help you in perimenopause and it can help you in menopause.
Are you loving this conversation and want even more ways to live your happiest, healthiest, and most authentic life? Then we'd love for you to join our growing community on Substack. When you subscribe, you'll get bonus content and behind the scenes insights from us. Plus, you'll be the first to know about our upcoming programs and events. Your support helps us keep bringing inspiring guests and impactful conversations straight to you each week. So head to the link in our show notes, sign up today, and let's continue this journey together to create the art of living well.
I would so much rather be strong than, super thin. And here's the thing, right? Everything is trade-offs. Everything is trade-offs. And, right now I'm in a cut phase for a competition season that will start in October, mid-October. I give up stuff for that. I avoid parties. I avoid situations where I'm going to be tempted to drink the wine and have the birthday cake. And, it's just the diet is very, very strict because I want to hit the stage looking the part. I want to win competitions. As I get older and there are fewer years and fewer opportunities, not to sound morose, but like those are things I don't want to give up. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And you don't really
so,
have to if you're not doing this, right?
right, right. So we'll see how much longer I can do this crazy sport for. But yeah, it's trade-offs. Like, do you want to have a life or do you want to look like, perfect? There's perfect is overrated.
Well, I think there's just seasons for your life, and there's people that, you may do a marathon and you're training really hard for a bit and you are going to avoid some things towards the end, right? And so it's just striking that balance that feels good for you. But for our listeners out there who are just middle aged, probably a lot of them are going through menopause or perimenopause. You did so much research as part of this book. Maybe you could just share a couple of nuggets for our listeners out there on why strength training is so important for longevity and especially for menopause for women. And this is a topic that Marnie and I are very passionate about. So we have talked about it before, but just maybe tidbits. And then I'd love for you to share that story of the 91-year-old in your book. Because that was, I told my family about that one. That was great.
So a couple points that the book hits on. One is, I think I talked a little bit earlier about like, how interestingly, when I got back to my desk and I was kicking ass at work, and it was clearly the weightlifting was having this effect on me and my feeling of capacity and confidence and productivity. I was like, what was this whole skinny thing that I'd been chasing my whole life? Because it was so clear to me that this was the body that I operated optimally on, one that was well fed, ate well, plenty of protein, more, and lifted heavy things every day. Like that was how I performed. Like, so why was I chasing like this lessness thing for so long? And so it made me want to research the origins of skinny and what skinny was all about because I found it's a fairly recent phenomenon of the past 100 or so years that, a sort of patriarchal society enjoyed and benefited from women being, not well
Weaker.
nourished and weak and
Yeah.
childlike so they could be more easily controlled. And that became a theme that was like very clear to me at certain periods, in particular when women started to gain more rights. For instance, when women got the right to vote, what did we have? We had the flapper, the thin, wafy kind of, flapper of the 1920s. And then, for instance, when, in the late 1970s or 80s, when women started infiltrating boardrooms and newsrooms and law offices, you had suddenly the weight. So it was like society's way of like, like putting women like back in their place. When I dug deeper into the research of, early women, well, what did early women were not like this whole hunter gatherer myth where men hunted while women picked berries in the field or whatever. That was total bullshit. Like we were not picking berries in the field. We were hunting also. We were buff. We were an integral part of agriculture. The work of Alison Murray at Cambridge compared Paleolithic and Neolithic bone structure to that of modern women and found that the early women's bones were most similar to Olympic rowers of today. So, meaning that they were powerful entity. They were lifting heavy things. They were pushing heavy things. They were active. They were athletes. So to me, that said everything that we are inherent athletes. This is the body that we were meant to occupy, that we perform best at. So let's be more instead of constantly chasing less.
I actually think we've done our bodies such a disservice over the last 100 years. Just in the
It's
way
not
that
our fault.
time has changed, right? Like, it's totally not our fault,
Yeah.
but being more inside, being at desks, being in offices, like, food is from the grocery store, we're not foraging, we're not, hunting animals, which I have no desire to do anyway, so that's a good thing, but it's really changed our bodies, and I even think about, like, sometimes how we have achy joints and knee trouble and all this all these aches and pains people have today, I think a lot of it is because we're not living the way our ancestors lived.
Well, we're not living how our bodies were designed to thrive, right?
And as I live in this space more and have researched it, and I see more and more older women who, were maybe taught to go to Weight Watchers or chase thinness or eat,
That's our
lean
parents.
cuisines. Like that's
Totally.
our parents. My mother, my poor mother, who never, was taught anything about lifting weights, now really struggles. You hug them and you can feel the. So I really think this has cost us, and all of these messages that we've gotten since the moment we are born. My god, I remember having a baby and pulling these little leggings over her diaper, and they were called skinnies, and I just
Oh,
skinny is everywhere, and we are conditioned to think it's the thing to chase, the thing to covet, the thing
Yes.
that will make us succeed, and it is not the thing that will make us succeed or live a longer life or enjoy, or enjoy our lives. I want to be able to, lift and carry things into my house for as long as I can, and to hike the mountains with my partner and to have sex and all of that stuff. So strength training, eating well, those are the things that will power us, and it is not to be feared. That's the other thing. We've read all those, silly teen magazines back in the day that warned us of becoming bulky, and that all of that is nonsense.
So I have a question for you. You have a daughter. How old is your daughter today?
Mhm. I have 2.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
Juliet is 14. She just started high school, and the little one is 10. So she's in 5th grade.
So what kind of messages do you give to them, convey to them as both a bodybuilder and as just strength training for health? I'm sure they're on TikTok and social media and all the thing. Maybe. I guess 14 is a questionable, but I'm thinking they potentially are. And they're being bombarded with all these messages out in the world. How do you deal with that personally?
Oh my god, it's such a great question, Marnie. I mean, we're ensconced in that battle right now. I avoided a cell phone for my older daughter until now, like literally now. I think
Good
today is the
job.
first
good for
day.
you. That's impressive.
Well,
That's very
I don't
impressive.
know. I mean, I'm not it hasn't been perfect. She's used mine, right? But I felt like at least, she plays with mine, but at least it's there's some limits. So she has a TikTok account and she accesses it with my phone. She doesn't have Instagram yet, but yeah, I've seen what she scrolls through, and I don't like it. I don't like it, but it was a way that she, or has been a way that she communicates with her friends, because there's a messaging app through TikTok, and so they send videos to each other and look at this and look at that. She makes little videos. They're usually silly lip syncing, but there's a lot of content on it that glorifies body ideals that are, you know, I don't know. I don't know how to describe narcissistic behavior. I don't
Yeah.
like it, but it is, and it's super addictive, right? And it's they're quick little videos and then you move on to the next one. And so, what am I trying to say here? That yes, I try to be an example for they see what I do, right? I have my barbells and dumbbells and stuff in the basement, and they know that, I'm an athlete and I compete and I lift weights. And I think to some extent they're proud of that. I've heard that they tell their friends that their mommy is a bodybuilder and they think that's pretty cool. And on occasion they've done stuff with me and we've taken little videos of ourselves doing stuff together. So they're learning. They love to eat. They're good eaters. I always make a big thing of how awesome food is and how it fuels you. And I really worry about eating disorders. In general, it's something that hits us all at some point, understandably, and certainly something that's hit me at one point when I was in college. And how can it not? It is. So I've got, my eyes are open, but yeah, stuff makes me nervous and twitchy.
I mean, I feel like there could be a whole top discussion
We
just
could do a
on
whole
this
other thing.
topic.
Totally. My
But,
mind is blown.
especially for you because you're strong and you're lifting and you're nourishing your body, but then at some point when you do these competitions, you're cutting back and, like, they're watching you get really lean, right?
Yeah.
And be up
Yeah.
on stage in a bikini, and so I'm sure there's just a lot of discussions that you have with them, and maybe not now, but even when they're older, right? As
Yeah.
to
I mean, they see me it's something that I'm very cognizant of because, I weigh my protein. They see me weigh my protein and they've asked me like, what are you like, why are you weighing that? And I'll say, because I need to get enough, making sure I'm getting enough protein. So I kind of always try to put it in the additive, but yeah, it's, you got to have your eyes way open in this crazy sport, both on yourself as a parent, but also on yourself because it can do weird things to your brain, like we talked about earlier.
So I'm wondering if we can change gears a little bit and talk about the mental aspects of lifting. I know, you touched upon how it really changed your life at work and all these different areas that you benefited outside of lifting. And I even think about, your attitude can become more positive as you're lifting, right? Your whole mindset can change. But also, I think Stephanie and I have talked about this a lot. Sometimes in the health and wellness space, we all become outliers for doing the things that we're passionate about, whether it's climbing mountains or bodybuilding or eating a certain way or whatever it is, it's going against the grain a little bit. So how do you handle people that maybe judge your lifestyle, especially, people close to you, family, friends, maybe they're feeling guilty that they're not strength training as much as you are or as eating as well as you are, or maybe they're just being judgmental or they're uncomfortable with what you're doing. How do you handle that?
So I am a proud member of the We Do Not Care Club.
Nice.
Do you guys follow her on Instagram?
We
I
love
love her
that
so
club.
much.
yes.
Oh
Yes.
my God. I am a proud member. I want to make my own We Do Not Care ode to me. We
She's
don't
very
do not care
funny. I've
club.
seen, like, the
She is
menopause
I'm not even
very
videos.
talking
fun.
about the actual We Do
Oh,
Not Care Club. I'm just talking about like the in time and space We Do Not Care Club.
yeah.
Yeah, the older you get, one of the great blessings of becoming our age is that like we stop giving a shit about so many things.
Mhm.
So, that judgy sister-in-law used to bother me. Doesn't bother me. Nothing bothers me. Like people can do them and, if it's something that it's usually has something to do with their own feeling about like not, you know, being disciplined or not eating or not missing the mark and that's okay, but that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to you, and your own health. The great wonderful magical thing about bodies and the way they function is that they're changeable, they're malleable. So just because you're dissatisfied with, you can change that and start to feel better in a matter of days, weeks. It doesn't take long to start really feeling the effects of like eating well and exercise.
And
But
especially
it does,
strength training, right? Like, I feel like
yeah.
the results from strength training are pretty quick. If you're
Oh my God.
effectively strength training.
Totally, very quick. And, there's this little thing I learned this from another bodybuilder that I interviewed. She's so great. She said she treats each lift as almost kind of an allegory of like lifting all the crap of life and being able to lift that over your head. And I kind of stole that from her because I think that's so great. The lift as like the physical benefit, but also really kind of connecting it to something more like something allegorical, like that boss who's giving you a hard time
Yeah.
Just
or the
throw them
stress you're
away.
under. Just, yeah,
Yes,
just
I
like
loved that when I
lift
read
that
that in your book.
away. And oh, I love that so much.
Well, it goes
That's
back
been a
to we
very
can do hard
powerful thing.
things. And
Yes.
so if you can do hard things in the
Yeah.
gym, how can that translate into other areas of your life? and
Totally.
difficult things, whether it's someone close to you passed away or you're going through the shit at work, whatever it is, but like you can do hard things. And so I think that's just such a great way to feed that through. And from a mental mindset shift standpoint, can be really powerful. So what tips would you have for someone who maybe is doing a little strength training, but not a lot, wants to lift heavier, but just from a mindset standpoint and to help them stay on track? Like you're to the point now where you're like part of the, we do not care club, but maybe that wasn't the case for you a few years ago. So for someone who's maybe not as far on in their journey of, and
Confidence.
just, yeah, and confidence, what little small tips or strategies would you suggest?
So I think you have to decide whether you're the kind of person who would prefer to like get your workout in at home, or if you like the idea of joining a gym. So there are benefits to both. I like to have a little home setup on the days where, maybe it's freezing cold, it's slushy or raining, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to make it to the gym. I have a little setup in my basement where I can knock things out and get my workout done there. I also like going to the gym because you know what? I see other people. There's more room, there's more stuff, you can spread out. And it's nice to feel like you start seeing the same people over and over again. Maybe you start to feel like you're part of a community. It's good. So you got to kind of decide like what are you going to do? How are you going to attack this so that you're doing it 3 times or 4 times a week? If you're at home, if you want to just be like, I'm good. I'm just going to knock this out. You don't need much. You really, really don't. In my basement, I have a few sets of dumbbells. I have an incline bench and some bands, which cost nothing. I'll get them on Amazon. And I do have a barbell. That takes up a little bit more weight and space. But really, that's pretty much it. And with those 3 or 4 things, you can get a good complete workout. The gym will also, if you decide to join a gym, they'll usually give you a freebie or two with a personal trainer, so which is a great benefit. So definitely use that to your advantage to like really work them on those freebie 1 or 2 sessions to help you develop like a game plan for the week. I like to, well, it depends, but usually I'll attack like a certain set of muscle groups on day 1, another set of muscle groups on day 2, another set of muscle groups on day 3, and then the 4th day I'll go back to day 1. But you can also do full body every day, but a trainer can help you kind of sort that out. But yeah, and like really you can get a lot done in 30 minutes or less. You don't have to be spending hours on end doing this, guys. Like, I am guilty of going to the gym probably and like spending too long and chit-chatting and like, I like the
And that's
gym,
the
so I'm
community
kind of a
piece of
gym.
it, right?
And
Like
that's the community piece. But on a day where I need to really get it in and come back home, like should be able to get most of it done in 30 minutes or less. So you just have to be disciplined and commit. But I mean, think of like the time we waste with the cell phone, like
Oh,
scrolling through
yeah.
social. I've so many times burned through 30 minutes just looking at the stupid stuff. So
totally. It's
you can do it.
exactly. If 3 to 4 times a week is what you recommend people starting out, how often they should lift out of curiosity?
3, you can start with 3 if you're just starting, even 2, 3 just to start. And then 4 if you're feeling like you got this and you don't need to do more than that. I mean,
If
but
if
2,
you're
3
going
times
for
a
the
week.
stage, the
Yeah.
professional
Right.
bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. But you don't
so
want, the idea is consistency over time. You don't want to do the thing that the bros do at the gym, which is like go once, show off, huff and puff, make a big show of it, and then like exhaust yourself and then not go for 2 weeks or
sounds like my husband.
you
Yeah.
yeah, you put
He's
out
not
you put
showing
in an
off,
effort
but
that's
he'll like do this like really intense workout one day and then it'll be like 2 weeks before he does it again. I'm like, "Oh, that's not that useful." But whatever. At least he's doing something, right?
yeah, you wanna feel like you're hitting something like hitting 5 or 6 exercises, 3 sets of, 8 to 10, and you're gonna feel like you got a good workout, but you're not gonna feel like toast. You're gonna go home and be like, "Woof, worked out, did good."
And I'd say for, yeah, anyone out there who's just starting out and who wants some advice, Anne Marie's book has a great, like, you lay it out as far as what you could do on
Yes.
these days and going through the very specific exercises, which I'm sure, on YouTube, you can Google those if you want to do it at home. But you lay a lot of that out in the back of your book. There's a lot of like practical strategies and just getting like right down to it as far as what you would recommend. So, highly recommend reading the book and having that as a reference. And you also talk about something, the importance of rest days in there. And I know we don't have a ton of time because we're going to have to start wrapping it up, but just maybe like 60 seconds, Anne Marie, about why rest days are so important and how you would incorporate those into a schedule for the week where you are strength training 3 or 4 days.
So rest days are important because if you're trying to build and grow muscle, they need a period of 24 to 48 hours to literally to rest and develop. So you're not doing yourself any favors if you're, going, working out the gym 5 days in a. So what I like to do is I like to alter the body parts to give them a chance to rest. So my first day is usually a big leg day. And then day two, the following day. So say that my leg day is a Monday. Day two will be an upper body day. So that I'm giving legs a chance to rest. And then the third day might be, something else. So, and then I usually do like I mentioned, I lift 4 times a week. I'll usually do that 3 days, rest the fourth day, fifth, sixth on, and then the seventh day off. So I'm interspersing, and I really try to maximize my rest day. Like I try to do very like things that I feel are relaxing and kind of nourishing. So maybe it's a yoga class or a stretching class. Maybe it's, getting my nails done with my daughter. It's our big treat. Maybe it's a walk in nature if it's a beautiful day like it is today here. So really kind of maximizing the rest and feeling it deeply so that you can, attack the next day.
Which is so important, and I struggle those recovery days personally just because, like, today I'm actually taking a recovery day, and I just wanna go work out, like, mentally, but I'm not going to. It's like a stress relief, so I'm like, "Okay, I need to find another way." But, Anne Marie, if our listeners wanna connect with you, how should they connect with you? Where can they buy your book?
So Lyft can be purchased anywhere books are sold. It's on Amazon, bookshop.org, all the bookstores, Barnes and Noble, blah, blah, blah. So, and I'm glad that you mentioned there's historical and science stuff, but there's also the practical tips on eating and how to structure your week of weightlifting chapters. I think it's 5 or 6 and 6 and 7. I can't remember, but it's a very practical guide that I think can help a lot of people in a lot of different ways. Find me on Instagram, Anne Marie Chaker, AnneMarieChaker. And my website is annemariechaker.com. And you can also follow me on Substack, where I write Lift, a newsletter weekly. So
Awesome, thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll link it all up in
yeah.
the show notes too. So, Anne
Awesome.
Marie, as we wrap up this conversation, we'd love to know, what does the art of living well mean to you?
The art of living well means having fulfillment in all the ways, socially, spiritually, physically, having good health, good food, good love, receiving it, but also being able to share it. It's not about money, it's about really finding joy and health and goodness in your life.
I love that.
If that
Perfect.
made
Beautiful.
sense.
It's
But
beautiful.
yeah.
Yes. And
But
what
I
you
think we're
said was like,
so like, yeah, we're so like enraptured with money, and the things money can buy. And as I get older and wiser, I realize that like you can have all the money in the world, right? But
Doesn't
not
bring
have,
happiness.
mm-mm.
no, no. Oh my God. Love, good food, giving joy, laughter. Truly, I mean, it sounds corny, but these are like the things that fulfill,
Totally.
and they don't have to cost much. Take
No.
care of yourself and take care of each other.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more. Though you're speaking my love languages right now. I want come out and like, yeah, give you a hug. But and what you said, like give love and receive love. I think that's really important because there's a distinction between the two. And sometimes it's hard for us to receive the love.
Yep.
Yes. As women, we're always like
Give,
focus on
give,
the
give to
other,
others so
right?
much.
We're giving, we're trying to fix and I'm so guilty of this, right? I speak like I'm this wise, but no, I struggle like people give me like a compliment and I'm like, no, oh
Yeah.
no. Like you think like you're trying to make them more comfortable or you're
Yes.
trying to make yourself, but like no, like accept it because they're telling you that like essentially they love you and like receive it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
given to you. It's a gift.
So one of our guests, I think it was a very early guest, and I can't remember who it was, but I remember we talked about this, and I think it was maybe even a guy, and he would say, like, I think it was that, I cannot think of his name, but he was like a spiritual guy, and I remember him saying when someone gives you a compliment, because Stephanie and I both struggle with this, he said to, like, say, like, "I receive that," and, like, take it into your heart. Do you
Yes.
remember the guy? He had a
I love
ponytail and
that.
dark hair. I cannot think of
Of
his
course he
name.
did.
But I can't
Oh.
remember who it was.
But
Or oh, the
But
guy
I
in
just it was
Boston.
like
Yeah, I don't
the
know.
spiritual something or I don't
Yeah.
know, but anyway, he was like, just like, actually, he said, if it's hard for you to receive it, he's like, physically take your hands and, like, pull it to your
Pull it.
heart. I
Mm.
was like, that's powerful.
Yeah, it
I think
is.
that's genius. I think that's genius. I'm gonna actually start doing
Doing
that.
that, I have forgotten
Thank
about that.
you.
Yeah, it just came to me, and right
Yeah.
now.
Love it.
Anyway,
Love
thank
it.
you so
I'm
much,
stealing.
Thank you
and
so much, Anne
good
Marie.
luck
This was
with
such
your
a great
book.
Thank
conversation.
It was
you.
really
Yes.
fun to read.
And your upcoming competitions that are starting just a few weeks after this drop. So, yeah. Have a great day.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to the Art of Living Well podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps more people discover our show.
And if you're ready to take your health and happiness to the next level, we would love to support you. Whether it's through our transformative group programs, personalized coaching, or functional medicine lab testing, we help uncover the root causes of your health challenges and unlock your vitality.
Visit www.theartoflivingwell.us to learn more and book a free discovery call. Until next time, keep creating your art of living well.